today. So we'll hope he gets everything figured out. Well, good afternoon. I'm Todd Horn, president of Clayton Construction Company. I had the honor of serving as chairman of the board for 10 at the top and excited that you're with us today. A couple of quick updates I'll share before we turn it over to our speaker for the day. We've had a busy start to the year. And that started with GP and his team at the Upstate Mobility Alliance giving an update on the study of the potential of a transit hub at GSP International Airport. I think some people are aware that that's something that 10 at the Top as an organization has been discussing and working towards. I think they had a great crowd show up. Unfortunately, my son was sick that day, so I was unable to attend, but I got great feedback. I know they also had economic development partners from across the region that attended that and gave feedback as well. So a great way to kick off the year there. Also, we had our kickoff at the Southern First Building, and I know several folks on this call were there. What a beautiful facility to host that event. I had everybody, if you were there, you'll remember this, but I had everybody raise their hand. I said, if you've met somebody for the first time tonight, raise your hand, and you'd be blown away. I mean, I would say probably a good 80 to 85% of the people raise their hand. And so I say that to say, make sure you're coming out to these events because with us being a 10 county region, you're always going to meet new people. And 10 at the Top is a very unique organization where we don't see the same old people over and over and over again like we do sometimes in our own community. So I encourage you as we move through the year, try to attend some events and meet somebody new. At that event, we announced Rebecca Ryan, who's a nationally recognized futurist, as our keynote speaker. Hopefully, folks have attended our biannual summit in the past. That is the largest event that we do as an organization. Pre-COVID, those numbers ran somewhere 800-ish, Dean, 800 to 1,000, somewhere in those, and somewhere around there in attendance, and a great opportunity and a great speaker that we have for that event. That you can go ahead and add it to your calendar, September 11th. Although that's a tough day for us all, we're going to have the opportunity that day to celebrate. And the theme of the event is maximizing our future. So we're looking forward to having Rebecca come share her knowledge with us. There'll also be opportunities for sponsorships there. We'll have tables of 10. Those will be available to purchase. And then general tickets for that event will be on sale in July. You can also see on the slide here our leadership level funding partners, which provide an annual support of $10,000 and above. They help our organization run, and we are very grateful for their support, along with the 80 individuals and other organizations that support our mission of 10 at the Top as well. If you are interested in becoming a funding partner and learning more about that, Dean and I and other members of the staff would love to come sit down with your team and have that discussion. We're really making a hard push to try to increase our presence across this region and gain more funding partners this year. So if you're not currently a funding partner, we'd love to sit down and talk to you about what that looks like. 10 at the Top's Upstate Entrepreneurial Ecosystem will be holding their first event of 2024 on February 29th at 3 p.m. The session will be featuring an opportunity to learn about upstate entrepreneur resources through a speed networking session. And so if you've never been part of speed networking before, it's a lot of fun. You meet a lot of people quickly and get a lot of good knowledge just sitting down in a few short minutes with folks. So hopefully, if that event is of interest, you will attend that on February 29th at 3 o'clock. Also, Erica is going to post in the chat of the link all of our upcoming events for 10 at the Top, so be sure to take a look at that. This is not on my script, but I'm going to share it anyways. Dean's eyes just got really big. He's like, oh gosh, what's Todd going to say? But we have not had the opportunity to recognize this in public yet, so I'm going to take the opportunity to do it. But Justine Allen, our very own Justine, has been selected as a GSA Business Report 2024 Women of Influence honoree. And so I want to give Justine a round of applause, so to speak, and just want to thank her for all her efforts and what she's doing to move this organization forward. Justine, you are awesome, and we're grateful for you. So with that, do we got Tom with us now?
We do.
We good? We do?
Yep. Yep. Tom is
Perfect.
good.
Okay, cool. So since we started these 10 at the top chats back in 2020, one of our favorite participants is GSP. I think we all know on this call how important they are as far as an economic driver to this community, to this region, and how much they do to push this community forward. I love GSP. Anytime Dave Edwards gets out across this region, he is a very regional minded individual. And I think all of us on this call recognize the importance of that. And we're very grateful for that. Today, we have Tom Tyra with us, who is the Vice President and Chief Marketing and Communications Officer for GSP. He's going to share with us the status of what's going on out there, which also includes a return of passenger traffic to past levels, but also, I'm sure some of us saw recently an introduction of new service to the airport and additional airport improvements. So with that, Tom, I'll turn it to you.
Great. Well, thanks so much for having me today. I'm definitely not the Chief Information Officer because I had some IT problems here. So I pardon my tardiness. I had to reboot and then say a few prayers and a couple of rosaries to make sure that this thing worked. So I'm hoping I'm going to share the screen here, and I'm hoping here. Let's try this one.
Yes,
All right. So we're good. We have a 10 at the top logo.
we do.
All right. See, things are going to work my way today. Let's make sure I have need to put it on where I can actually play it. 1 second. All right. So everybody knows, as you mentioned, most of you, I think, are familiar with GSP. We are Greenville, Spartanburg's, and the upstate regions cargo and passenger airport. We have about 100 flights a day, typically on the passenger side, probably half a dozen to a dozen cargo flights a week, and that's growing segment. We'll talk about that in a little bit. We did almost 2.6 or just over 2.6 million passengers last year. That brings us back, I think, 98, 99% recovery from where we were in 2019. And we fully expect to break through that number in 24 and then go well beyond that. We've had some recent announcements that we're very excited about. We'll talk about that too. And then we have some, we think 24 and 25 are going to be very strong years, passenger and cargo activity-wise for us, along with some facility enhancements that we have been introducing, and we'll talk more about that as well. Now, we just finished up an economic impact study, and we can kind of confirm that GSP is really an economic driver in the region. So we have about a $4 billion economic impact on the region, supports almost 20,000 jobs, and about $1 billion of income is added into the region each year. And of that, about $381 million in annual tax revenues and about $840 million in money that is free. It comes in from visitors from outside of the region, bringing new cash into the region through tourism, business development, visiting friends and family, those types of things. And to keep up with all of that, we really need to do some improvements at the airport. Some are already underway, some are getting ready to get underway, and some are yet to be announced. But about $427 million in capital improvements are going to take place over the next 6 years at the airport. So a big piece of this, and this is why our announcement a couple weeks ago with Breeze is so important. According to the study, confirmed some numbers we had back in 2018, but each new daily flight that GSP introduces supports about 600 local jobs and about $11 million in total tax revenue. So just a little bit of air service enhancement and investment and being able to support those flights, bringing them in, pays big dividends for the region. So here's the kind of the track record of passenger activity. You saw we, from 2010 to about 2019, we were on a pretty steady upward trend in passenger activity. 2019 was our record year. We just surpassed it or just came close to it with 2023 in full recovery. And we think we're going to do about 2.8, maybe a little bit better coming up in 2024. So we have currently 23 nonstop destinations, 8 different airlines. That's the most airlines we've ever had. It's tied for the most destinations that we've had. And, I will say fairly soon, we will probably surpass that number and go up to maybe our 25 or 26 coming up here in the not too distant future. So stay tuned on that one. So part of the thing is it's a pretty good representation of cities in the blue. Those are the ones we currently serve nonstop. But there are target cities that the community still has the demand to support. And we've been targeting and working with carriers for years to build cases to make it economically feasible for them, to make sure it's the right carrier at the right time, doing the right level of service. And so you can see the red cities are all ones that we think right now are feasible that the GSP in the upstate region can support. And, you hear a lot about Boston. Boston is top of our list, that metro area. We do get Providence, which is the south part of Boston with Breeze. That will start up in May. And we're looking for some other options going up into Boston to take care of some of those in the next year or so. We lost Washington Dulles service over the pandemic. United had to cut back on flights because of pilot shortage. We feel very confident that we'll see that back in our lineup of flights here in the next 6 to 9 months, we hope. And then down in Florida, we were actually lined up for Fort Myers, and then a hurricane hit Fort Myers, and it delayed that rollout. So we're pretty confident we'll see something in South Florida as well coming up in the near future. Toronto is the highest ranked international destination for us. We think that that's a market that's going to be happening in the not too distant future. Canada really took it hard during the pandemic. United States government actually provided some bailout funds for airlines to offset the negative impacts of the pandemic. But Canada and a lot of European countries didn't give the airlines any kind of help. And so it's taken them a little bit longer to recover from the impacts of being shut down for so long due to COVID. But Air Canada, WestJet, Porter, those types of airlines are just now starting to put service back in the United States in a big way. So we've been talking with them quite a bit. And then you have Western service. So we just got Los Angeles. It's going to start up at the end of May. That's a big achievement for us. We've been talking to carriers for many years about trying to make that case. And it's just, it's so many airline resources are devoted to a route like that. You're basically devoting an entire airplane for the entire day just to fly GSP to LA, because pilots can only fly about 8 hours. And so it's about 4 or a little over to fly out there, and you got to get another crew to fly back. You're basically dedicating a $40 million airplane to a route. And so you need to make sure that you're going to pay yourself back at some point. And so we were able to make that case to Breeze. And now we just need to fill those planes and prove that we weren't pulling their leg. But San Francisco's out there, Las Vegas for leisure, Phoenix. So all of those markets are reasonable to think in the next 4 or 5 years. We certainly hope that the demand will continue and the population increase will continue in this area to make all of these markets feasible. So, well, let me go back here. Got too excited. Let me go back this way. Okay. So we did have some recent air service announcements. As you mentioned, Breeze was 2 weeks ago. They came into the market with 5 markets, which is a very significant statement to say. We've been working with Breeze for about coming up on 3 years now to convince them to come in, even before they were named Breeze. For those who aren't familiar with the airline, it was founded by a gentleman called David Neeleman. David Neeleman's kind of a serial entrepreneur in the airline industry. He he's been around and started a number of really successful airlines. So everything from a little airline called Morris Air back in the 90s, out in the western part of the US. It became such a thorn in the side to Southwest that Southwest Airlines bought it to put it out of business, brought him on board, and he was actually in the management team, the executive team of Southwest for a number of years, decided that he wanted to move on. So he created a low-cost carrier in Canada called WestJet, which is still a major, major player all over Canada. Moved from there and started a little airline called JetBlue, and then stayed there for a number of years, went down to Brazil and started an airline called Azul, which is the biggest carrier in South America right now, and then has come back here to start another US carrier with all brand new airplanes with it, which is Breeze. And so he's very familiar with this part of the country, very familiar with some of our team as we've been talking with him with these other airlines, and they see great promise in the upstate area. So they're going to do Los Angeles, Hartford, Connecticut, Orlando, Providence, which is kind of South Boston metro area, and Tampa to start off. And they have a few more cities up their sleeve, but they want to see how these markets do and how demand responds. So on just before Breeze, we had another low-cost carrier called Avelo. Avelo entered the market with service to New Haven, Connecticut. And what's different with Avelo is that they weren't looking at demand for people from GSP to go to Connecticut. It was people from Connecticut to come here. Some of it is from migration of moving into the area. A lot of it was tourism based and visiting friends and relatives. And that service started off with just 2 days a week, kind of seasonal. It has grown in the number of flights up from 2 to 4. And so we will probably see some additional investment with Avelo coming up in the spring and summer of the year. They're very happy with how the service has been received. So American Airlines also put in some flights to New York LaGuardia. That was one of the biggest markets they did not already serve, and that has done very, very well. And then Southwest put in weekend service to Denver, and we're working very closely with them to, at the end of this summer, to see if we can make that go daily. And so we're very high on seeing Southwest do some more in this market as well. So on the cargo side, we are a significant cargo gateway in the Southeast. So we're ranked 21st largest cargo airport in the U.S. based on international trade volume. We're the only airport in the Carolinas to offer scheduled international cargo service. And we currently have scheduled service to Belgium, to China, to Denmark, to Germany, Korea, and Mexico. So some of those services come and go through the year, but they have been routine enough that we have some freight forwarders that become very reliant on it, to the point of just the air service out of GSP is responsible for almost $6 billion in international trade. So a major mover in logistics here at GSP. So to support some of that, back in 2019, some of you all may have remembered, we had a lot of press about we built our own cargo facility. It was a 110,000 square foot facility, and almost immediately we found that was too small. So in 2022, we added another 50,000 square feet to it, and it can park 3 747s wing to wing all at the same time, simultaneously. So significant facility, able to move a lot of cargo fast, and we do all that under our Cerulean brand, which is part of the airport district. And we've got a kind of a reputation for handling some unique cargo. It is one of those where some airports and some freight forwarders they want to move boxes, they want to move certain pallets. Some have been able to be a little more adventurous like we have, and it has paid dividends. Everything from the largest equine shipment for the biggest horse airlift in the world for the Tryon World Equestrian Games in 2018. We had about 40 Lamborghinis, that's the middle picture there, heading out to a race circuit in Europe. In September, I think we'll get another 40 to ship out of here to Europe as well. along with our automobile partners with, BMW, Volvo, and others. Anything from wind turbines to helicopter parts to aircraft wings, and to my favorite, the guy in the middle here, with a pretty significant 300 cow shipment for the UN. They were shipping to Africa to start up dairy farming projects, and decided to use GSP to move all the cattle. And pretty impressive. Now, he was the really nice one. The dark brown cows, those things are mean. You don't want to get near them. But this guy's he was a winner. And all kinds of different aircraft with an 11,000-foot runway. Pretty much any aircraft that is out there today, we can handle. So the cargo activity, you can see, like the passenger activity, we have seen a pretty substantial growth in where we've gone. 2021, you see, is really spiked up. That was during the pandemic. That's where we were the recipient of a lot of air cargo shipments because passenger service was reduced during the pandemic. So they had to move freight. A lot of those ended up in passenger airplanes that had to go somewhere. Places like Atlanta, Chicago, and others were so overburdened with flights on the ground that it would take days to clear them through customs. Many of the airlines found that GSP was kind of their efficient solution to all this. And so we would have airlines like British Airways, we'd have Air Canada, we'd have TUI, we'd have Condor, we've had all kinds of airlines, Moss Air, bring in passenger airplanes and transport their cargo through GSP. And you see the big spike in activity there. So in 2022, when all the supply chain, problems were kind of resolved, and the water ports could handle things, they could find trucking options. The funny thing is that the cargo demand dropped a little bit, but not as much as you would think. It didn't go back to pre-pandemic levels. And even today in 2023, it's not on this chart, but it's still at elevated levels. So we saw a real benefit from showing what we could do during the pandemic, and it stayed. And then I think that's a good thing, just raising the awareness for the upstate of what kind of logistics partner we can be to the Southeast and frankly to the rest of the United States. So let's talk about some recent construction that we've done. We've got a lot of earth moving around here. I know Kevin Howe's on the call here, and he's responsible for all of these big monuments and things that we're building out here, but it's pretty impressive amount of construction all in a short period of time. We talked a little bit about the cargo building that we built, the 160,000 square foot cargo building. But what's a cargo building that only parks 3 747s when you can park 6 747s? So we just added another 30 some odd acres of aircraft parking at the cargo facility because frankly we were double and triple parking airplanes at times, and it gives us the capacity that we need to move forward with cargo. And then at some point, as demand warrants, we could potentially build another sister building to the building that we constructed in 19 and expanded in 22. So it gives us a lot of space there, something that really the rest of the Southeast airports just don't have that kind of capacity to park, specifically park cargo aircraft. So we just completed a 25,000-foot corporate hangar, and we're talking to potential tenants for that hangar right now. This is being either for multiple aircraft for a single provider, or it could be multiple partners that park airplanes in there. But that's brand new construction, and we have actually over the next few years some pretty significant improvements on our GA side, our general aviation or corporate side of the airport, which is really important for economic development, making sure that the big companies that have corporate jets are supported, but also that companies that move in and out with site selectors and other folks that may not use passenger air service have an efficient corporate option as well. And that's where we're putting some money into that over the next few years with some fairly significant capital improvements. So we recently installed a 5th lane at our security checkpoint. We were having some pretty significant backups in the mornings and in the mid-afternoons with some of the larger aircraft that we've been getting in, replacing 50-seat regional jets with 150, 180-seat 737s and Airbus. So we're getting kind of clogged up there. So we added a 5th lane. TSA put in the newest of the new machines for screening to speed that up. And we fully suspect in the next, 6 months to a year, we think we may be in line for some additional TSA improvements where they'll do some with ID checking and some other new technology that they want to place in. And if that's the case, then we will probably be the first airport in South Carolina to have some of this technology that they're hoping to unveil. So we're crossing our fingers and hoping that's the case, because with some of these flights that we're adding in, even with the fifth lane, we may be a little pinched here and there. So we want to make sure we have anything we can to kind of speed that process through. So let's talk about current construction. And if you've been out to the airport anytime from about, Halloween to now, you'll notice that the front of the airport looks significantly different than it did a year ago. And we have a terminal roadway improvement project, or TRIP for short. And what it's done is it's a project, multi-year project dedicated to really making our roadway system at the airport campus more efficient. It's really 1958, 1959 vintage roadways for a 2024 airport. And so we were having lots of backups, lots of trouble with people dropping off, picking up. We never anticipated Ubers and all the shuttle vans and those types of things. So what this does is in the green, you'll see a significant expansion of the roadway, kind of spreads things out a little bit. Most of that has been already constructed. It's the purple that's right in front of where it says passenger terminal. That's under construction right now. And we hope that that will be done late April, early May, to where that will be totally 6 lanes across the front, about doubling the amount of space that we had before. And it opens up a nice big square right next to parking garage B that will, in fact, very soon be parking garage C. So we'll talk about that in a bit. But this project with TRIP is about an $18.6 million project. The current phase, like I said, is probably late April, early May to have the 6 lanes completed. And the entire project, we're thinking summer of 25. After these 6 lanes are opened, we're going to put some roundabouts in to kind of better control traffic. And the hope is to get rid of all the stop signs on airport property, or as many as we can. And so there won't be a lot of inconvenience there with the roundabouts. Most of it is where we're experiencing right now. So hopefully be patient with us. And that will be done here soon. And we'll have a strong summer with 6 lanes of thoroughfare in front of the terminal. So as I talked about Garage C, that is actually some fencing just went up this week. We're going to have a groundbreaking on the 27th, but we're not waiting. We've got workers out there now doing some prep work, but there is going to be a Garage C, and a consolidated rental car facility is being constructed right next to Garage B. So it's about 1,500 spaces total. About half of that is going to be public parking, and half of it is going to be for rental car, for ready return. So when you return the car, they're going to have fuel pumps. They're going to have car washes and things like that inside of there. So it really makes the rental car experience much more efficient. There's going to be a lobby in there that looks very much like the airport ticket lobby for rental car transactions. But it will add not only more parking capacity for us, but make the entire experience much more user-friendly. So we're expecting that construction is going now. We'll have a big hole out there in the next few months, and then we suspect that will go up pretty quickly, the structure. And we're looking at sometime in 2026 is that we will have it fully open for the public to use. And so we're excited to have that project on. We were actually just about ready to break ground just before the pandemic was declared, and decided to put that on hold for a few years and see where everything was going to fall out. And so we're happy to see that back on the plan, and hopefully we'll get this moving through, and it will be a significant improvement to the parking experience here at GSP. And I talked about the GA and the corporate aviation improvements. We're going to be doing a renovation and expansion of our fixed base operator. That's the private terminal that's operated by our Cerulean brand. That's about a $15 million project. It's going to double the size of the private terminal, and it's going to begin probably in April, or at least in the spring, We'll get underway with construction. It's about a year-long project, and then that will be a significant improvement. We have outgrown those facilities, and that will really help us be able to meet the demand that we're seeing on the corporate side. We also have an additional $11 million that's going to be spent for some site prep for future GA development. That could be additional hangars and other things. But we're going to go ahead while we're doing some of that work, go ahead and prepare the land so we're ready when opportunities come forth. So then we have the planned construction. Remember I said about $427 million over the next 6 years? That was a big chunk of it, but this is our master plan moving forward. So there's a number of projects, particularly a lot of the things in blue that are all on the list that you will probably see as demand warrants over the next few years, but fairly significant construction projects moving forward for us in the next few years, just to keep pace with the level of population growth and air service demand and cargo demand. So it's all going in the right direction, and hopefully stay with us, be patient, and hopefully we can continue to make the airport as efficient and as user-friendly as possible. And with that, I think that completes my part of it. So I'd be happy to answer any questions.
Well, thank you, Tom. Todd, do you want to start the questions? Todd may have had to jump off. I know we have to leave a little early. Tom, I'll start with the questions. If anyone else has any in the chat, please feel free to add them. I guess let's go back to the start with the new service and additions of service. Can you talk for a minute about what process you guys go through with airlines, what your internal process is even before you start talking to the airlines about a route? Because, as it seems, from your end, I mean, it seems like unlike maybe some of the larger, airports in bigger cities where there's less risk of a mistake, airlines are certainly in areas like the upstate with only, a million plus people, maybe a little bit leery that they could make a mistake here when they bring service into the community.
Yeah, so the airlines are amazingly, I mean, every market, they're very risk averse. And so it's a big investment by them. They have a 40, 50, $60 million airplane that they are making plane payments on, and they've got to make every decision work. Now, what works against markets like ours is that you can always put another flight in New York or another flight in Los Angeles or something, and you know what you're going to make, and you know how you're going to fill it up. When you go into a market like ours that maybe has never had service to Los Angeles, let's say, the risk is a little more daunting than saying, I want to go New York to LA and put that same airplane in there. I know what I'm going to compete against. So it could be a big winner. It could be egg on your face time. And so you have to build a number of years of convincing them what is the case, who would be flying it, what would they be willing to pay, why would they be flying it, how would they buy their tickets? Are they open to a brand new carrier, or are they dedicated to the frequent flyer plan that they already are invested in? All of those types of things is you kind of do that through the courtship, and you want to try to match those types of things. You just don't want to go after any carrier. You want to go after carriers that ultimately are going to be successful, because when we bring these airlines in, typically the airport will waive all their fees for a year or two. They will give hundreds of thousands of dollars in advertising to promote it. So whenever you see any advertising out there from an airline, from any city really, the airlines aren't paying for that. That is usually your local airport is paying for that. And what the expectation from them is, you will have to make the case to us, and then if you don't we don't make the money we think we're going to make. We'll pick up our asset because we can just fly it somewhere else, and we'll go to another city who has another case that sounds as good as yours. And so there is a lot of onus on the local community to, not only when they say they want a service, we have to fill it, and we have to fill it consistently, or they'll find some place to put it. And so we have to be very careful about how many flights we go after and what flights, because it's a big investment for us. We have to make sure that it has a really good chance of working. And so far, we've been very successful in supporting the service that we've been bringing in. Really, the only thing we've lost in the last, really the last 6, 7 years, we had Frontier Airlines in town, and they left during the pandemic. So everything else, the community has been able to support, and we've grown from there. And that's the sweet spot that you want to be in. You don't want to go out and have a reputation in the airline industry, because there's only about 7, 8 airlines, and so you don't want to have a reputation of a market not working, because they will always say, well, if it didn't work for Delta, why would it work for American? Those types of things. So there's a lot of work that has to be done, and you have to kind of line up companies and potential customers well in advance of even talking to an airline.
Great, thank you. On a different subject, John Warner asks about IT. Are there plans for any IT upgrades at the airport?
Yeah, so I should have probably put this in here. Our CIO would probably be angry with me. This year, we actually put in self-service kiosk out in front of the Southwest and the Delta ticket counters. So these things actually will have all of the airlines eventually, as the airlines have the technology to do it. So you won't have to go to the ticket counter to check your bag, or to get your boarding pass, or even to change your itineraries and things. You will have kiosks that are, take you away from having to stand in line. So right now we have American, we have Delta, Avelo, and I'm missing one. United's about ready to come on. And Southwest is on there as well. And so we're hoping to get all of the airlines on there. So that was a significant expense for us, but we think that's the way to go. And we're also looking at coming up in March in front of our commission. We have a discussion of whether or not to adopt an automated shuttle service at the airport that would be autonomous, all electric shuttle that would be initially bringing employees and people from remote parking lots in, but initially could be hooked into other transit systems across the region. So we're going to have a discussion of that as well.
Yes, and that's been, I know you all have been looking at that for probably a decade or so through work with Fred Payne and many others who have been a part of that. And of course, Todd mentioned the study for the transit hub that's going on at GSP. So all these pieces kind of fit in with each other. We have another question about, you mentioned all the capital campaign funds and everything, doing all the construction. Question specifically about where that money is. It all coming from the federal government? I know when you all did your work a number of years ago, that none of those funds came from, that you all internally funded and it's escaping my mind, but the improvements.
Oh, the wingspan.
Thank you, wingspan.
Yep. Mm-hmm.
How are the funds working for your current construction?
Yeah, so it kind of depends on what the construction project is. Some of those projects are eligible for some federal funding. Some of them are not. And so things like parking garages are not truly set up for federal funding. So that money would have to come from other sources. So we actually have, because we have a rental car facility inside of that, there is a fee that we put on a number of years ago on every car rental that puts into a fund for the car rentals to help offset the cost of that. And then we frankly use some of our retained earnings, and frankly, we're going to borrow some money to build that parking garage. So there's not going to be any federal money in there. It will probably end up being paid off of people who park in there. We'll take some of that revenue and pay for that. When we do things like runways, or we do taxiways, those types of things, a lot of that has federal money in it, and it's from the taxes, the federal taxes that you pay on your tickets. So there's a percentage that goes out to all the airports based on how many passengers they have each year, and then there's some discretionary. It depends on how important your project is versus all the other projects at airports around the country. So safety and security projects get the highest priority. So those types of things may have some federal funding in them. There are other state and regional type grants that might help with cargo operations as well. And there's some entitlement dollars for cargo, much smaller, just for cargo airports that sometimes we can tap into. So it's really kind of a full menu of funding sources out there. The biggest thing is that we don't get any money directly from state or local taxes. And in fact, in state of South Carolina, there's virtually no dedicated funding for commercial airports. Coming up this year, there's some money that they kind of did on one-time things that they can divide amongst all the South Carolina airports. But there's no regular funding source for those. So everything that we generate is either from our funds, from fees and services that are used here by the people who fly from the airport, or if it's a safety, security, runway type of project, then we share some of that with the federal government.
Perfect. Well, Tom, I remember, throughout, we've been doing this now for 4 years, and you and Dave and others from GSP have been regular contributors and a big part of these TAT chats, especially during the pandemic. And I will say, this is without a doubt the most positive of any of the TAT chats we've had from you all, because all the great work you all did during the pandemic to ensure that once it was over and things moved back to normal, that you guys would not just reach where you were, but you would continue to grow and expand. And I applaud and congratulate you and Dave and Kevin and the entire team. I think everybody knows that GSP is a critical asset for the upstate in many, many ways. And thank you for always being such a supporter of our work, but also of being part of these TAT chats.
It's a pleasure. Make sure everybody buys those Breeze tickets early and often. We want to keep that LA flight.
We're going to LA in June. It's going to be perfect.
Yeah.
So with that, Tom, again, thank you very much. And I am going to introduce, if you'll unshare your screen there, I'm going to introduce our woman of influence, Justine Allen, who will introduce our resource update.
Thanks, Dean. If only I could influence my computer to make my video work. So, hi everyone. Apologies that there's no video for me today. I am happy that I get to see all of you though, and I am honored to introduce our resource update for today. We talked last month about doing this a little differently now. We'll have one per month and give them more time so they can really delve into what they do. So today we will welcome Brittany Mazik with Community Initiatives. Brittany is amazing. I have had the chance to Zoom with her previously, not just her work with this organization, but her innovative work using AI in this nonprofit to increase their productivity and help more people. So Brittany, if you are ready, I will forward the slides for you.
Yes, I'm ready. Thank you, Justine. And good afternoon to everybody. Again, I'm Brittany Mazik. I'm Operations Manager here at Community Initiatives. We're located in Greenwood, South Carolina. We are a 501c3 nonprofit community-based organization. And I am excited to share to you some of our programs and initiatives today. Justine, if you have the slides ready, I'm ready.
Okay, are they showing up?
No.
Oh, whoops.
Not yet.
Not influencing this either today. Okay, one moment, please.
I don't know, Justine, might have a recount on the influence thing here.
It's a take back.
In the meantime, while she's getting my slides, I'll go ahead and get started. So our biggest program and biggest initiative here at Community Initiatives is La Clinica Gratis, which is our free clinic. And our free clinic serves anybody in Greenwood, Abbeville, Saluda, McCormick, Lawrence, and Edgefield counties. Here they come. If you just go ahead and go to the next slide, that'll be perfect. Perfect. And so our clinic, La Clinica Gratis again, which is Spanish for the free clinic, focuses on healthcare access and quality. All of our patients are what they consider uninsured, meaning they don't have health insurance, or they're underinsured, which means that they may have family planning. A female may be able to go get birth control, but she's not able to actually go see a provider. Or they may have a Medicaid plan, but the deductible is so high, the deductible may be $1,000 something, and they're not able to see a primary care physician for care. And so our clinic service those patients. We have general care, which is checkup for just general issues. We have flu shots. They're able to get their lab work done and also medications. We have care management services. Translators are on staff all day, every day. And every patient goes through a social determinant of health assessment during triage. We have our diabetic program. This is for our patients with unmanaged diabetes with an A1C of 7 or higher. And this program offers education, free supplies, and also glucose monitors or whatever they need to help on that journey. We also have the BCN Cancer Screening Program. BCN stands for Best Chance Network. That program offers free mammograms, free cervical, and also prostate exams. We have prenatal care for all of our mothers that are expecting, and also pediatric care. That's for any uninsured youth that under the age of 18. One of our newest additions to our clinic was our on-site lab. So right on site, we don't have to send them anywhere else. We can do A1C readings, lipid profile assessments, urinalysis, and screenings for strep A, pregnancy, hepatitis C, influenza A and B, HIV, RSV, and COVID-19 right here in our clinic. Next slide, please. Our next program or initiative is Thrive Hub. And so we don't have to refer anybody to DSS or DHEC to apply for government benefits. We're able to do that application right in-house. And so we do SNAP, Medicaid, Medicare, Well Vista, TANF or Family Independence, which is also called FII. And then we can also help our clients or patients register to vote right in-house. This is a super, super important service because we were losing clients, sending them out to other agencies that may not have translators. They were going there, not able to get the help that they need, and now we can do those applications right in-house. Next slide, please. The next portion of our services are geared toward our youth. We have the Safe Haven After School and Summer Program that offers homework assistance, literacy enrichment, character education, STEAM, which is science, technology, engineering, arts, and math initiative. We also have mental health counseling as needed for our youth, and we provide transportation to and from that program. This program is also a part of our Healthy Living initiative. So we provide them with snack, dinner every day, and make sure they do exercise or some kind of movement once they're finished with their homework and their reading. The next part is our Toddler Learning Center, which is a full service, all day daycare that provides service to 2, 3, and 4-year-olds. So we started and opened our daycare last year because we saw the need for affordable daycare. I don't know if y'all have any children that's in daycare. I have a 5-year-old. He was just in daycare, and daycare is expensive. And so our daycare services all of our clients on a sliding scale fee. What that means is we intake our patients, we find out about their household, how many people are in their household, how much income is going in, and all of the fees are based on that information. Our daycare is a feeder program for District 50 schools, so we are getting all of those children kindergarten ready. This means higher cognitive and academic achievement, a positive emotional development opportunity We have a language-rich environment, and we're doing every day what is needed to make sure that those kids already go to kindergarten ready. They're not behind, but they're ready for K-5. Next slide, please. So the part that is, I would say, most near and dear to my heart is this part. La Clinical Gratis, our free clinic, is one of the first clinic that is using AI to revolutionize healthcare. I am a AI consultant. I also am a certified ChatGPT prompt engineer, and I saw a problem. We were referring our patients out to go to see a nutritionist or a dietitian. A lot of our patients were not going to those appointments. And so I was wondering what was going on. They were missing appointments, or they would call and cancel. And so I called the nutritionist and had a conversation with her. And one of the questions I asked her was, do you have translators on site or somebody that is bilingual? She said to me, no, we don't have that here in our office. And so I realized that a lot of our patients were canceling their appointments because there was a language barrier. There was nobody there to translate for them. And so they were just not going. We serve a huge Hispanic population. And so that's very important that we have translators for our clients. And so with my knowledge of AI, I began to think, how can I use AI to kind of alleviate this problem? And I found a solution. I was able to design and code what they call a ChatGPT bot. GPT just stands for Generative Pre-trained Transformer. And with this bot, we use it to function as a missing team member. So in other words, this GPT acts as a nutritionist on site in our clinic. It's able to provide tailored meal plans, exercise regimens, and nutrition advice based on each patient's health profile. All of the information that it gives is tailored toward that patient. And I solved the language barrier issue because the GPT is able to provide these plans in English and Spanish. So what happens is our community health worker that we have here on site and a translator is able to sit down with every patient, look at their profile, look at what their doctor recommends for their health journey, and then they're able to use that GPT to customize a meal plan and an exercise regimen for them. When I was programming and coding this GPT, one of the main issues that I wanted to conquer, and this is an issue with AI in general, and that's data privacy. A lot of people are worried about the data privacy and the ethics behind it. When I coded the GPT, I made it so that no sensitive personal information has to be put into it for it to work. In other words, a patient's name, their address, their phone number, their email, anything like that, the GPT does not need. All it needs is that health profile. So whether they're diabetic, whether they're pre-diabetic, if they have high blood pressure, if they have high cholesterol, that's the only information it needs. It takes all of that information plus the notes that the doctor has left for the patient, and it uses that information to generate the meal plan or the exercise regimen for them. So this allows us to ensure confidentiality and also compliance with HIPAA. The most important part and the most exciting part about using this GPT is this. In South Carolina, a nutritionist, the average salary is about $55,000 to $60,000 a year. We're saving that because we're using AI to plug in as that missing puzzle piece or team member. So it's allowing that CHW that we already have on site to use that GPT and function instead of us paying a nutritionist. Next slide, please. I think that's my last slide because I only was allotted 5. Yes. So this slide just has our website, our hours of operation, also our phone number, our director's email. Our director is Ms. Teresa Goodman, and then also my email. So if you're interested in hearing more about our programs, our initiatives and services, or if you're interested in learning more about AI, how you may be able to use AI as a missing puzzle piece for your team, I'll be glad to have a conversation about that as well. Thank you for your
Thank
time.
you. Thanks, Brittany. You are such a thought leader, and it's very refreshing to hear what you're doing within, I guess for me, within the nonprofit sphere, because that's where I work. So, using AI for good, it does do good things and help people, and particularly help streamline processes and even save money. So that's amazing.
Thank you.
You're welcome. And I appreciate you taking time to talk to me about it a couple months ago. And Brittany really is very willing to sit down and talk with you and help you figure out how you can use AI in your organization too, in addition to all of her other duties. So thanks very much. All right, everyone, I am closing us out today. Todd had to head out, so we appreciate you being here, and feel free to reach out to us if you have any questions or need anything at all. And I'm going to thank you. I was just going to look up our next TATT chat date that Eric has put in the chat is March 14th, so you can register with the link in the chat. And who's our speaker for March 14th, Dean?
We actually have three. We're going to have three speakers, each talking about events, exciting regional events that are happening in the upstate in coming months. So we'll be sending out that information in the recap tomorrow, but we're going to be looking at the BMW Pro-Am. We're going to be looking at the Michelin Global Cities coming to Anderson, and then also a new program that SyncMD and others are doing that's going to be at the Gibbs Cancer Center. That's a women's medical innovations conference, I believe at the end of April. So those three events will be our highlight and the bulk of the program next month.
Excellent. Thanks so much. Thank you, everyone. We appreciate you, and thanks for coming on our TATT chat today. Have a great weekend and rest of your week.
Bye, everybody.